The smell of roasted turkey and sage used to mean home. It meant my wife alive again in memory, humming over the stove. It meant my son Michael stealing bread before dinner. That Thanksgiving, walking up my son's gravel path, the same smell brought only dread. I knew I was walking into a lion's den. I just didn't know which lion would strike first. I'd worn my only good jacket, the one from my wife's funeral, pressed carefully the night before, frayed at the cuffs, but clean. I didn't want to give anyone a reason to look down on me. Some people decide what they see before you even open your mouth. Michael opened the door before I could knock. 32 years old, and he looked exhausted, a manufactured smile that didn't touch his eyes. "Dad, you made it. Come in." Inside, the house was a showroom. White couches, glass tables, abstract art I didn't understand. A world away from my recliner and my stack of unread books. I stood in the entryway, clutching a bottle of cheap wine like a shield. A voice sliced through the air before I'd even set the bottle down. "Michael, is that the old man?" I was starting to think he'd gotten lost on his way from the trailer park. Emily's mother, tall, gaunt, a diamond on every finger, perched on the white couch like a queen holding court. She didn't stand to greet me. "Good afternoon, ma'am," I said. "Happy Thanksgiving." "Oh, we didn't have much choice," she said, sipping champagne. Michael insisted. "Family obligations." She air-quoted the words like they disgusted her. Emily appeared from the kitchen, beautiful and polished, offering her mother only a soft, "Mother, please," not a correction, more like mild amusement at a rude joke. I looked for my grandson Leo, the one warm thing in that cold house, but he wasn't in the room yet. Michael steered me to a leather ottoman, away from the couches, like I might stain something. The mother-in-law's eyes crawled over my worn shoes. Emily's father always said if you can't dress for the occasion, you shouldn't come. He was a businessman. He understood appearances. "I'm a retired construction foreman," I said quietly. "We don't dress up to pour concrete." "Bless your heart," she said. "You certainly tried." I looked at Michael, waiting for him to say something. He was staring at his phone, checked out, like this happened often enough that he'd learned to disappear inside himself rather than defend me. Dinner was called. The dining room was magnificent. Mahogany table, gleaming silver, a centerpiece worth more than my rent. And there was Leo, 9 years old, stiff in a suit and tie, who lit up like a Christmas tree when he saw me. "Grandpa." "Hey, buddy," I said, and for a moment the tension cracked. "Indoor voice," his grandmother snapped. "Sit up straight." The seating was its own insult. Emily at the head, Michael at the foot, the mother-in-law and Emily's smug brother flanking the center, and me, banished to the far end. "You won't mind, will you, William?" Emily said sweetly. "We keep the center seats for immediate family." Immediate family. I was the father of the man who owned this house. Leo insisted on sitting beside me anyway, ignoring his grandmother's cooing. "I want to hear Grandpa's stories. He used to build skyscrapers." "He poured concrete," the mother-in-law corrected. "There's a difference. He didn't design them." I said nothing, though it stung. I knew what I'd built with my hands. Foundations that held up 100 stories. Work sites, where men went home safe every night. It wasn't glamorous. It was honest. Through dinner she held court. Country clubs, charities, how hard it was to find good help. Every word a jab. Then, smiling, she turned to me. "I'm surprised you got a seat at the table. We usually have the hired help eat in the kitchen." I'm kidding, of course. "That's a nice jacket. Where did you get it?" "A thrift store." The table went silent, waiting for my reaction. Michael finally spoke, not to defend me, just to steer the ship. "Mom, please, let's have a nice dinner." She wasn't finished. "I'm curious, William. What's it like being poor, so liberating? No responsibilities, no one expecting anything of you." I kept my voice steady. "It's a struggle, ma'am, but I'm proud of what I built. I supported my family. I put my son through college. I paid off my house." "Oh, you owned a house?" Mock surprise. "I assumed you lived in a cardboard box. That's adorable." The rage built in my chest. But it wasn't her insults that hurt most. It was Michael, slicing his turkey into smaller and smaller pieces, refusing to meet my eyes. I turned to Leo instead, my only shelter. He whispered that he liked pie better than turkey, and I told him if he ate pie for dinner, he'd turn into a pumpkin, The same lie my mother told me. He laughed. It was the first real laugh of the day. Then Leo started tugging at his tie, complaining it was choking him. Emily told him to stop bothering his grandfather and leave it alone. He kept fussing. I can fix it, I said, standing. Dad, just leave it, Michael mumbled. He's fine. I knelt beside Leo anyway and loosened the knot myself. Better, buddy? Thanks, Grandpa. As I walked back to my seat, the mother-in-law cleared her throat. Oh, and William, since you're up, why don't you clear the plates? You must be used to work after all. That was the line that broke something in me. I stopped. I am not going to clear the plates. I am a guest in this house. My son invited me. I'm going to sit down and finish my meal. Silence. Her face flushed a deep, ugly red. She wasn't used to being challenged. She stood so fast her chair screeched against the floor, crossed to me, and slapped me hard across the face. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. I tasted blood. I clutched my cheek, stunned. That's for being an ungrateful, crude old man, she hissed. This is my daughter's house. Poor people belong outside, not at my table. I looked at my son. Michael, are you going to let her do this? For 1 second I saw the old Michael flicker behind his eyes, the boy who would have jumped in front of a car for me. Then it vanished. Dad, he said, voice weak. Just apologize. Please, apologize and we can finish dinner. That did more damage than the slap. My own son had watched me get hit in his house and asked me to say sorry. She hit me, Michael. I know, but you provoked her. Just say you're sorry. Emily studied her napkin, indifferent. Her brother smirked, enjoying the show. The mother-in-law stood with her arms crossed, triumphant. Well, are you going to apologize? Or do I call the police and have you removed for trespassing? I had nowhere to go. I couldn't fight back. I couldn't say what I wanted to say in front of my grandson. I opened my mouth, searching for some way to salvage the moment, and then a small, clear voice cut through the tension. Mom. It was Leo. He'd slipped out of his chair, phone in hand, face lit by the screen. He'd been quiet the whole time, not distracted, but watching. Something happened, he said, voice trembling but growing steadier. I recorded a video of Thanksgiving. He held up the screen. It was a live broadcast. The blood drained from every adult face in that room. The mother-in-law's smugness collapsed into raw horror. Turn that off, Emily demanded, reaching for him. Leo didn't move. He looked at his grandmother, then straight into the camera. Grandma, he said, tears in his eyes. You're live. You're on the internet. Everyone can see you. The mother-in-law lunged for the phone. Give me that, you little brat. Leo bolted behind my legs, out of reach. She froze, realizing the damage was already done. Every insult, every sneer, the slap itself, all broadcast live. The video ended, but the room stayed frozen. Emily broke the silence first, panic rising in her voice. Leo, who did you send that to? He looked between his mother, his grandmother, his father, and asked the question that would haunt that house long after I left. Mom, isn't it wrong to hit people? His voice cracked. Grandma just hit Grandpa. I saw her, and nobody did anything. He was right. Every adult at that table had failed the most basic test of decency, and they'd been caught. Not by a hidden camera, but by a 9-year-old who understood right and wrong better than any of them. Michael's mask of pathetic compliance finally cracked into horror. Oh my God, Dad, I'm so sorry. Emily looked ready to be sick. The mother-in-law stood frozen, hand over her mouth, eyes darting like a trapped animal. But I didn't care about their panic anymore. I knelt beside my grandson. Leo, buddy, can I see the phone? He handed it over, fingers cold against mine. The friends list on the broadcast was full of familiar names. Emily's boss, the neighbors, people from the club. And it wasn't just Facebook. It had already auto-uploaded to YouTube, spread across Twitter, forwarded through WhatsApp groups. Over 1,000 views already. 1,000 people had just watched me get slapped and humiliated, and watched my own son fail to defend me. Michael was crying now, sobs shaking his shoulders. Dad, please, we can fix this. We can delete it. Say it was a joke. Don't let this ruin us. I stood, and a strange calm settled over me. This video wasn't going to ruin them because of some clever plan I'd made. It was never a scheme, It was a gift. From the most innocent person in that house. A boy who couldn't stand to watch someone he loved get treated like garbage. I turned to the mother-in-law, who was trembling now, her bravado gone. You told me poor people belong outside. You were right. I don't belong here. I never did. But watching your reputation crumble from out there, that's going to be the most beautiful view in the world. I handed the phone back to Leo. This is the best Thanksgiving present anyone's ever given me. You have a good heart, buddy. You're the only person in this family who deserves a seat at that table. I turned to go. Michael grabbed my arm. Dad, please, don't go. I can make this right. You let her hit me, Michael. You told me to apologize to her for it. You're my son, and you treated me like I was nothing tonight. There's no making that right. You made your choice. You chose comfort over your own father. I looked at Emily last. I welcomed you into this family, and you treated me like a disease. I won't forget it. And now, neither will the world. I walked out through that sterile living room and into the cold evening air. Putting on my worn jacket felt different this time. Not shameful, but like a badge. It reminded me who I was, and that I'd survived the worst night of my life standing upright. Behind me, the house erupted in shouting and panicked crying. The perfect Thanksgiving facade had finally collapsed. In the days that followed, the video spread like wildfire. A wealthy socialite slapping her son-in-law's elderly father was exactly the kind of moment the internet couldn't look away from. Local news picked it up, then national outlets. The mother-in-law was forced to resign from every charity board with her name on it. Emily lost her job when her boss, having watched the footage himself, decided her conduct didn't align with the company's values. The public chose a side. They chose me. Michael called constantly, dozens of times, begging for forgiveness, begging me to release a statement calling it all a misunderstanding. He wasn't sorry for what he'd done. He was sorry he'd been caught, sorry for what it cost him. I never answered. I knew if I heard his voice, the wound would reopen, and I wasn't ready to hand him that power again. A man doesn't owe forgiveness to someone who watched him fall and chose to look away. Months later, a letter arrived. It was from Leo, a crayon drawing of the two of us on a park bench, sharing ice cream. He said he missed me. He said he was sorry for what had happened that night, though he had nothing to apologize for. He said he'd been grounded from his phone for a year, and that he didn't care. He said he'd do it again in a heartbeat. He was the only one in that house who understood what had actually happened. The slap had hurt, but it wasn't the slap that stayed with me in the end. It was the silence of the adults, and then the small, unshaking voice that broke it. Leo gave me back something no apology from Michael ever could, my dignity. And sometimes, that's all a father can ask for. Sometimes the only justice you need is the truth, spoken by the smallest voice in the room.